UFC Jacksonville. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Ilia Topuria versus Josh Emmett. Looking forward to this card. Excited to talk about each of the matchups on it. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Also note, full card fight companion, 12 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. We got an early start to this card, and I'll be live for the entire thing. Let's get into the first fight. We got Tatsuro Taira versus Clayton Rodrigues. I'm picking Tatsuro Taira in this fight. Now, as far as Clayton Rodrigues goes, he's super impressive with his Muay Thai. Hits very hard, nasty kicks, but he does seem to fatigue a little bit, and I think he's at a deficiency here in the grappling department. Taira, from top position, is pretty dominant, and I think he's eventually going to be able to get Clayton Rodrigues to the ground. The biggest chance for Rodrigues on the other side would be if he pretty much put out an all-out first round onslaught, had Taira backing up, caught him as he was trying to throw something and, follows up with big ground and pound and gets a knockout. Probably not going to happen because regardless of how slick I feel Clayton Rodrigues is on the feet, Taira is a pretty decent striker in his own right. He's fairly quick, and I feel like if you look at the grappling difference, I see Clayton on his back. I see Taira on top of him, wearing on him, slowly breaking him down and then working towards a win by submission. So I got to ride with the better grappler. I got to go with the prospect on the come up. Granted, both guys are prospects on the come up, but Taira seems like the next big thing out of Asia, and I'm going to ride with the 13-0 fighter to beat Clayton Rodrigues. Clayton, tough motherfucker, hits really hard, had a good fight against CJ Vergara, ultimately lost on a competitive decision. Taira coming off of a recent dominant win against CJ Vergara. It's not about the MMA math, but when you do look at the differential in the grappling skill sets, it's strongly towards Taira, better wrestler, better jiu-jitsu, and I would say in the striking department, more power for Rodrigues, but Taira is going to be able to fight for longer. I think he's got the better gas tank. He'll wear Rodrigues out and then submit him in the second or third round. The odds are wide. It's minus 300 for Taira, plus 250 for Clayton Rodrigues. I like the 3-1 favorite, Tatsuro Taira, in this fight. He, crazy enough, opened at minus 650. I am confident that he gets it done. Clayton Rodrigues is a great test for him and a prospect who still has a future at flyweight. It's not like it's over for Clayton with a loss here, but he is taking on someone that appears to have the makeup of a future flyweight title challenger. So we're going Taira for the win, and I'm calling submission victory. Savage 23-year-old prospect. Next fight on the card, we got Jamall Emmers versus Jack Jenkins. I'm picking Jamall Emmers in this fight. He's significantly taller than Jack Jenkins. I guess 3 inches. Is that significant? That's a good amount. But he's got a major 6-inch reach advantage. Jenkins is a pretty good kickboxer who's known for his nasty calf kicks. But I feel like Jamall Emmers is going to be able to touch him with straights from the outside as he's looking to attack the calf. I think Emmers has a bit of power in his punches, which is a factor that's going to throw Jack Jenkins off. I can't see Jenkins with a advantage in the grappling and bullying Jamall Emmers in close. I think Emmers is going to be really hard to deal with. He's got a lot of experience. Think back to a couple years ago, split decision loss to Giga Chikadze, had a really good striking performance in that fight. Jack Jenkins coming off a win over Don Shannis, who is a significant step down from Jamall Emmers. This is a giant climb in competition, though Jamall Emmers, 19-6, doesn't have, a lot of hype behind him. He's got 4 UFC fights. He's got UFC wins. He just beat up Kusan Askabov, who was undefeated in his last fight, picked him apart. And I think Jamall Emmers is going to win this one on the scorecards too. So I'm going Jamall Emmers for a decision win. He takes out the Aussie prospect in Jack Jenkins. Now, as far as the odds, Jamall Emmers at minus 163, the favorite. Jack Jenkins, the plus 143 underdog in this fight. Emmers the favorite. He opened as such, and he's pretty much at the same spot that he's been at. I like Jamall Emmers to win. I think the length is a big factor here. I can see him outstriking Jenkins from distance. hard-fought decision win. And also do watch for the punching power. Jamall Emmers does have a big right hand. He could potentially hurt Jack Jenkins, especially if Jenkins is getting very frustrated, getting caught on the outside against the longer guy. He really tries to force an explosion into range and could be counter-striked. So I like Jamall Emmers to win. I'm going to pick decision here. Most likely it's on the judges' scorecards. Third fight of the night, we have Trevor Peek and Jose Chepe Mariscal. Listen, with Mariscal in this fight, we have to note that he has a wrestling background and a lot of experience. He's coming in on short notice against Trevor Peek, who's a dynamic entertainer. I don't know if I can call him a dynamic kickboxer because he's kind of raw and wild. I'll throw the pick out to you right now. I'm going with Mariscal to pull off an upset. I think that he's going to be an issue for Trevor Peek in the grappling department. So it comes down to, is Peek going to put the pedal to the metal and try to blitz Mariscal? Is he going to then run into trouble when Mariscal gets a hold of him? Because he's got a wrestling base. He was a national qualifier. He's got a win over Pat Sabatini. He beat Yusuf Zalal, coming up from 145 pounds. But you look at Trevor Peek, he fights, he calls himself, the street fighting background. He fights with that street fighting style. It's all or nothing in the first round. So if Chepe on the other side is able to survive an onslaught, and you look at Peek's last fight, he was taken down by Eric Gonzalez. Gonzalez is a tall, lanky striker that took him down. Mariscal, short, wrestler, 5'6", can strike too. He can kickbox. Machine Gun can still kickbox. But I feel like the takedowns are going to be available, and as long as Chepe can survive a first-round onslaught, I think Peek probably has significantly less stamina in the second round, which aids to the takedown offense of Chepe. I see him landing takedowns. I see him working from top, and I think he's going to get a win. Now, as far as method of victory for this one, I think Mariscal's got a chance to lock up a submission on the floor. Not telling you this is the fucking 10 out of 10. It's a lock of the century. But I think that Mariscal wins this fight. At plus money, what is he at? Plus 150. He opened up at plus 195. So the line's dropped a bit. People throwing down on it. Trevor Peek minus 175. It's first round or bust. I'll tell you this. This fight ends inside of the distance. It's going to come down to, does Peek put the foot on the pedal all the way and explode, and Mariscal unable to keep up? Or does Mariscal find a way to weather a storm, mix in his wrestling, and then take advantage? Because Mariscal's got a lot more fights. He's the better technical fighter when you look at these two. But absolute savage Peek throws chaos. See, 3-fight win streak for him. And you can see Sean Soriano, Steve Garcia. I mean, these are names. You look at Mariscal's resume, he's fought some competition, man. And I think that Chepe for the win. Upset. Trevor Peek, just too wild for me in this fight. I can't go with this chaos. I like Trevor Peek a lot. He's fun to watch. But knowing that he has an iffy ground game and he's fighting a guy with a fuckload of experience, shorter guy, I like the wrestler. Chepe for the win. Next fight on the card, we got Tabatha Ricci versus Gillian Robertson. I'm going to pick Gillian Robertson by a really close decision. I see this as a super competitive fight. Robertson's a really strong grappler, and she's facing off with Ricci, who's got excellent jiu-jitsu. Note that Robertson is the taller girl. She also recently made the switch to the Goat Shed team, and now it's kind of like revitalized her career. And she's riding a fuckload of momentum into this fight. She dropped to 115. She got a win in her 115 debut. And then you look at her recent grappling win. That was before her debut, but against Rose Namajunas, she tapped her out in a minute. I know that that's grappling and that's not MMA, but she's like, damn, I can out-grapple the former champion of the world with ease. And now you throw her Tabatha Ricci, who's a prospect on the come-up. Both these girls are the same age, but you look, Robertson has been through the ringer of hell of competition throughout 125, and now she's at 115, and she's just seen way higher level looks. And, Tabatha Ricci, as fun as she is to watch, and she does have some speed, she's kind of a flurrying puncher that's a little bit awkward. I wouldn't say she has great striking. I'd say, it's okay. She's upright. Robertson doesn't bring a significant threat with her hands, but it's not like there's a vast striking difference. I would say Ricci is faster than Robertson on the feet. I think Robertson is going to be stronger on the ground. She's not going to get submitted by Ricci, and I think that Robertson pulls it off. I think decision is what I'm going to call. I see a close fight going long here, and Robertson pulling it off on the judges' scorecards. It's very hard for me to say that Tabatha Ricci is going to get finished in this fight by submission, knowing that she's an ace of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But Robertson's a savage with her grappling, and I definitely see her out-positioning Ricci. So I'm going Gillian Robertson for the win over Tabatha Ricci. As far as the odds, underdog Robertson is plus 100. She opened up at plus 120. Then Tabatha Ricci minus 120, the favorite. I like Gillian Robertson. I like the plus money tag. I think she's got this fight. The UFC experience stands for something. And she's also 4 inches taller than Ricci, coming down as the bigger girl. She's not Jessica Penne. Gillian Robertson is trying to become a UFC world champion. She's not at the back burner of her career. She's 28, the same age as Ricci. We've just seen her forever. I got to go with the savvy vet. I got to go with that high-level experience, and I got to go with the constant improvement. And I like the team that she's at. That Gocha team's building up some savages, and I feel like Gillian Robertson's leading the pack. So riding with Robertson, reinventing herself once again, and getting a nice W. I think it would be a bigger upset as far as for the fans than like the bookies. The odds are close, but a lot of people, I think, believe Tabatha Ricci's like that next prospect up. Gillian Robertson's going to take her out. Next fight, we have Mateusz Rębecki and Loik Radzhabov. Listen, you guys know we're going with the OV, but I'm not going with Loik Radzhabov just because he's got the OV. That's the joke of it all. But here in this matchup, I see this. Radzhabov taking the short notice fight, winning his debut. And you know what? The gas tank looked all right. He was gassed at the end of it, but it wasn't bad. He's got some power in his hands, and if you watch Rębecki close the gap and throw, he drops his rear hand and keeps it down on a regular basis with a very offensive-minded striking style. But this is not Nick Fiore, who's across the cage from you. That's Rębecki's last win. He won that by decision, and he still was bloodied up and touched in that fight. Loik Radzhabov has a bit of power in his punches that I think could sneak through. I definitely feel like his overhand right is his heaviest punch. He landed that in his debut. I think he can land it here on Rębecki. And a careless Rębecki can get caught and his lights shut off by Loik Radzhabov. Now, if you look through Rębecki's career, he does have one knockout loss. It was a ground and pound KO. So obviously it's not like he was on the feet and he got flatlined. But Loik Radzhabov is the most serious step up in competition Rębecki has ever had. This is a finalist in PFL. Professional Fighters League. He fought Manfio and they went 5 rounds. He's got a lot of wins in the Professional Fighters League, and now he's over in the UFC. He's seen high-level fighters before, and Rębecki's not seen this level. Come on, man. From Nick Fiore to then jump to Loik Radzhabov, that's a serious tier difference. That's bottom tier to somebody who's competed at a high level and fought for a world championship. No matter what your feelings are on PFL, that's a big factor. Loik Radzhabov winning this fight. I think the KO is possible in this fight too. Ultimately, it's not like Loik Radzhabov is chinning everybody he fights. He got that sub over Zach Zane, Ribas decision, Alex Martinez decision, but he does have a KO of Akhmed Aliyev 2 years ago. I'm gonna pick KO. I'm gonna pick KO because I want to see a fucking finish, but I definitely could see it going distance too. The money line side is the A side. Loik Radzhabov plus 110 as the dog. Rębecki's minus 130, the favorite. Loik opened up at plus 185, and then he actually shifted to a favorite last week. So interesting note. Rębecki minus 130 as the favorite. I like the underdog. I like Loik Radzhabov, and I think he's getting it done. Potential for a knockout is live here, but money line would be the A side. The OV for the win. The Tajiki OV for the win. Excited for this fight. Let's keep running up the card. Next fight on the card. It's Randy Brown versus Wellington Turman. Wellington Turman dropping from middleweight to become a welterweight. I assume he's going to have no issues making weight, but I just don't think he's a significant threat to Randy Brown anywhere. He's going to get his face boxed off on the feet. Turman was very undersized for 185. Coming down to 170, yeah, he's going to be, fair size per se, but he's only 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. Like, average wingspan, under average striking. He's got good grappling skills, but I don't see him having great success taking down and bullying Randy Brown. I think Randy Brown is going to box him up from distance, hurt him with punches here. And I think the weight cut Turman is thinking is going to be an advantage. I can bully these guys in the grappling. I think he's going to be at a big speed disadvantage with Randy Brown, and he's going to be stuck in the kickboxing range, getting his face destroyed, and I think he's getting knocked out. I got Randy Brown for the knockout win. He's got grappling. He's got some takedown defense, but he's especially got the length and the boxing advantage that is going to carry him through. He's a slick striker. Big plus side, though, we will give Turman some credit. He does have pretty decent jiu-jitsu. He looks in good shape. I stalked through his Instagram, and he looks lean and ready for 170, but he just doesn't have the tool set to compete with Randy Brown. I think he's taking an L in this fight by knockout. We're going Randy Brown. The odds for it are minus 215. Wellington Turman, the plus 185 underdog. I like Randy Brown to win. Minus 215, the favorite, and I'm saying KO. He's putting Turman out. Turman's in trouble in this fight. Next fight, heavyweights going after it. It's Justin Tafa and Austen Lane. I'm picking Justin Tafa to chin Austen Lane in the first round. This fight, I think on the feet, is a mismatch. Oh, but Austen Lane's so tall. He's 6'6" with an 80-inch reach. Yeah, but watch his striking. He comes in with these flurries and he's upright. He's like stiff as a board upright. He's straight up like this. He's coming in. When you fight somebody like Justin Tafa, he hits you one time, your lights go out. He's coming off of a big knockout of Parker Porter. You look before that, Harry Hunsucker, right? Okay, Jared Vanderaa beat him from the kickboxing range. Philippe, he honestly was real close in that fight. Juan Adams KO. Justin Tafa can put these big men out, and when you give me a stiff striker with a football background in Austen Lane, who's been chinned in the past, we've seen him put out. Go watch him fight Greg Hardy years ago. He got flatlined. He's an ex-NFL player, and he's fighting Justin Tafa, who hits like a tank. I don't like ex-NFL, tall, lanky kickboxing versus absolute savage Samoan power. I got Justin Tafa putting the hammer on him and flatlining him in the first round. I think this is going to be a one-sided fight. I think Austen Lane is going to try to open up and throw, and Tafa's just going to make him pay immediately. And Austen Lane has good athleticism, but he's not very strong in the grappling. He's a striker. His grappling is not the A side, so he doesn't have that card to pull out of his back pocket. Oh, let me just out-wrestle Tafa. That's not his game. He's a long striker who honestly likes to close the gap and throw a lot of power, and I think he's going to put himself in some dangerous positions, and I think Tafa is touching that chin and flatlining him. I'm going knockout in the first round for Justin Tafa, who's only 29 at heavyweight and constantly evolving. He came to the UFC with 3 fights. He's going to be getting significantly better every time. Austen Lane, getting bullied here. Austen Lane's getting bullied. He's getting knocked out in the first round. Austen Lane's plus 160. Tafa at minus 185. Tafa opened at minus 220. So large favorite to open. Still fair size favorite. And he's sleeping Austen Lane. Knockout win in the first round for Justin Tafa. Don't doubt the kickboxing and the overall punching power. And then Lane on the other side. Technical flaws there. He gets upright. He puts himself in the fire range, and he's going out. He's getting knocked out. Tafa for the win. Next fight brings us to Zhumagulov versus Joshua Van. I think it's time for Zhumagulov to get a UFC win, so I'm going to be picking Zhumagulov. Joshua Van's a good prospect. He has been out-wrestled in the past in his lone loss. He's a dangerous striker from Myanmar, so you know they got that Lethway background over there. He definitely can kickbox. He's got speed. He moves really well. His grappling defense is okay, but is it enough to deal with Zhumagulov, who's going to be bringing consistent pressure, willing to throw punches? Van, 21? He don't got that man strength yet. I think when they get in close, Zhumagulov's going to have the grappling advantage. I'm picking Zhumagulov to win. 14-8, a lot of UFC experience, wrestling base. Even though he hasn't looked great, in the UFC. We got to respect what he's done outside of the cage, or rather outside of the cage, outside of the octagon, and done in other cages around the world. And Joshua Van's still very young. Good prospect at 21, but I don't think he's coming in on short notice and beating Zhumagulov at 21 years of age. I'm going Zhumagulov for the win, and I'll say he gets it done by a decision. As far as the odds here, Zhumagulov, minus 172. Joshua sitting at plus 147. And Zhumagulov opened at minus 190. So lines come down a little, not overly. I think Zhumagulov wins a hard-fought decision. I mean, Van will be throwing back, but Zhumagulov's wrestling pressure will be too much. At the end of the day, the Charles Johnson split, you got to have some confidence in him in a matchup now with Joshua Van, who's a kickboxer that hasn't shown the same level of grappling defense / distance management as a Charles Johnson. And Zhumagulov's having successful moments there. So I think Zhumagulov's going to have a lot of successful moments here with Joshua Van. And Zhumagulov should have beat Jeff Molina. So ultimately, a bad run of decisions. I think here, he gets his win. Scorecards. Next fight is the featured prelim. Neil Magny versus Philip Rowe. And I'll tell you guys, I sat on this one for a while before recording the show. I'm going to pick Phil Rowe to get a TKO in the third round against Neil Magny. Now, of course, resume-wise, Neil Magny's is way more impressive than Phil Rowe. But note something about Neil Magny. He hasn't fought someone in the UFC with the same reach as him before. He has fought a 6'3" fighter, I think Hung-Gu Lim, early on in his run. He's fighting a guy in Phil Rowe who brings the same reach and the same height, actually half an inch more on Tapology. A better boxer. Phil Rowe hits with more power than Neil Magny. He's got a nasty 1-2. When you look at the ground skills, Phil Rowe is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that competes on a regular basis. Yeah, he gets his ass whipped against Gordon Ryan. Yeah, of course. Like, come on. What would you expect? But he's putting it on the line in grappling competitions. He's got a nasty ground. He's a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. Wrestling, Neil Magny is great with his clinch control against the cage. But is he taking guys down and pulverizing them? No. Yeah, he can pull off subs. He beat D-Rod. I think that Phil Rowe right now, momentum on his side, if he can create some space, he's going to touch Magny up and hurt him. And I think he can knock Neil Magny out. Neil Magny's been KO'd. Look way back. It was on The Ultimate Fighter. I believe it was against Mike Ricci years ago. He got knocked out in the semifinals. Phil Rowe can touch him up with punches and put his lights out. I'm going Phil Rowe for the KO win. He pulls off the upset against Neil Magny. I like the matchup for him. The same height, same reach, better punching, competitive in the grappling. And Magny, he's going to hold him for 15 minutes against the cage. And we're not at the Apex. We're at Jacksonville. We got the big cage coming out. Phil Rowe's going to have a lot of space to kickbox and move. And I think he hurts Neil Magny because there's not a lot of power on the Magny side. Minus 145 for Magny, plus 125 for Phil Rowe. Rowe opened up at minus 110, so the line was even when they opened up. And now Rowe, slight dog. I got the dog in this one. I'm going Phil Rowe for the TKO over the OG Neil Magny. Let's jump to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Brendan Allen versus Bruno Silva. I got to pick Brendan Allen here, but I will tell you guys straight away, there's a 20% chance Bruno Silva flatlines him by knockout. Because southpaws tend to hit Brendan Allen pretty fucking well straight down the center line. The concern is, will Brendan Allen not land his takedown, right? I think that he's going to be able to put a high pace on Bruno Silva and look to wrestle. And the difference between Alderte Sanchez, who took Silva down 7 times in their fight, and Brendan Allen, is the jiu-jitsu game. Brendan Allen, when he gets on top, he can control incredibly. He has great grappling transitions, and he's super strong. When you look at Bruno Silva on the other side, he's got a puncher's chance only. I can't pick him with just a puncher's chance. When I see Brendan Allen improving his kickboxing every fight, and even against Andre Muniz, he did get touched by some strikes. Note something about Muniz. He's a very good grappler on the other side. Bruno Silva is somebody that Brendan Allen's looking at and is like, okay, strike to set up takedowns. As long as Brendan Allen doesn't go out with a psycho game plan of trying to rip Bruno Silva with punches and get the knockout win, I think he'll be very successful in this fight. Bruno Silva could land some strikes and even have early moments of success. Allen ties him up. Allen works him against the cage. Allen shoots a takedown. Silva defends one. He's on another one. He gets him down. Some time's building. Silva's fatiguing. You gas him a bit. He can wear on him in the clinch. Use the first round to feel him out, but also to set up grappling and try to wear on him. Try to fucking take that gas tank of Silva down. So I think Brendan Allen in the second and third round is incredibly live for sub. I think Bruno Silva's live in the first under a round and a half for knockout. I'm picking Brendan Allen. I'm going to say he gets a late submission of Bruno Silva. But ultimately, that 20% possibility of a knockout for Silva is 100% there. So if you're like, yo, I want to throw it all on Allen, Bruno Silva's a live underdog. He's not an underdog pick, but he's a live underdog. And I wanted to mention that because I'm seeing from that southpaw stance, Allen is susceptible to power strikes. And he could get hurt down the line. But I still believe he's made some evolutions. He's improved his game enough to get a win over Bruno Silva. We shall find out. Allen for the win is minus 158. Bruno Silva plus 138. And Brendan Allen opened as a minus 300 favorite. A lot of people on that Bruno Silva dog side. I'm on Brendan Allen to get the win. And I'm saying submission. Next fight on the card, it's David Onama versus Gabriel Santos. I'm going to pick Gabriel Santos on the judges' scorecards, but David Onama is a beast. He's an athletic specimen. He throws with crazy knockout power. Santos is just clearly the superior technician and has a grappling advantage. The way he gets in trouble here is if he tries to bang with David Onama early, because Onama has the serious knockout power. Hurt Landwehr in their fight. I mean, look at the knockout. Knocked out Benitez. Look at him against Mason Jones, though. Struggles when he gets tangled up with, when he gets grabbed, when he has somebody across from him that can take him down, control him. Gabriel Santos can take him down and control him. Ultimately on the feet, Santos is actually more slick, but when you're fighting a guy with really good athleticism and like crazy knockout power, Onama can crack. So Santos, one little mistake can get him in trouble. How is he going to win the fight? Well, he is a southpaw, so that's interesting, but Onama throws pretty dangerous straight right. So Santos has to be very wary of that fact. And Onama comfortable switching stances too. I think if you look at Onama letting the strikes go, he'll sometimes overshoot for a KO. Obviously fatigued himself against Nate Landwehr and got fucked up in that fight. I think Santos is going to try to fight at a calculated pace. He needs to avoid the early onslaught that Onama, I think, is going to look to bring here. And then from there, pick him apart slowly, mix in takedowns when need be, get Onama overthinking the strikes because he knows a threat of a takedown is there. And when he's on the ground, let's say he's unable to get up. He's pretty athletic and he finds ways up. But I think Santos is going to control him for more of the fight and land a bit more significant strikes. So I'm going to go Santos for the win. But I will note something very strange with the lines here. David Onama opened up as a minus 275 favorite. Gabriel Santos is now a minus 240 favorite. So complete line shift between these two. A lot of people like Santos to win. David Onama is not this massive underdog in this fight. Those lines that you're reading there, don't read it as such. This is a pick'ems fight. For me, the lines here should be more like a minus 110 to minus 125. Like it's a real near 50-50. That's how I see this matchup playing out. It's extremely competitive. I think Santos is the better overall fighter and finds a way to win, but I don't think he goes out there and looks like a minus 240 favorite. I think he looks like a slight favorite. It's like, oh, damn, he pulled it off against a game Onama. So let's not sleep on Onama. Don't go fucking ballistic on Santos. I think he pulls it off for sure. But ultimately, he's still in a fight. He's in a competitive fight too. I mean, he's at a disadvantage in the reach as well. 2.5-inch reach disadvantage. 2-inch height disadvantage. Speed edge Onama. There's a lot of factors to like for Onama. So I can see why he opened up as a big favorite. And then people obviously wanted to attack Santos. But now Onama's a live dog still. Picking Santos to win, but I have to mention some red flags about him here in this fight. And Onama being a dangerous opponent on the other side. Santos decision. Good fight. Looking forward to it. Featured bout of the night, it's Cody Brundage versus Cedric Dumas. Brundage coming in on short notice, and I am going to pick Brundage on short notice because I believe he has such a superior wrestling and top game to a Cedric Dumas. I think he's going to land takedowns and control and be off to, I think, I don't know, a clear win. Like, I feel like submission is live here. I think Cody Brundage, as long as he doesn't get crazy and just try to slug with Dumas, he should win. If he uses a little bit of striking to shoot the takedowns, get on top of Dumas, he'll find a submission. I mean, Josh Froome was able to win by submission against Dumas and take him down. Cody Brundage is the superior wrestler to Josh Froome, and I'd say would have, a similar submission game, but with a better wrestling base. Dumas, from distance, he's got the striking edge. I mean, look at the reach difference, 7 inches, 6'2" to 6 foot. Dumas has not, faced off against any of the high-level opposition in the UFC yet. Cody Brundage has seen pretty decent level in the UFC. He's been in it for a while now. I mean, Dolce Legambula win. He beat Trey Sean. Oleg Jacek got him, of course, and then Rodolfo Vieira subs him. But remember that Vieira fight? He hurt Vieira with an overhand. Cody Brundage has underrated hands. He just can't really stay consistent. I think in this fight here, though, the young Brundage has a clear advantage in the wrestling. Using a bit of striking to set up takedowns is going to be an avenue to get him a victory in this fight. Fun matchup. I'll go Brundage, but ultimately Dumas on the other side is the better striker. And if Brundage has a fumble of game plan, he wants to try to scrap with Dumas, that reach advantage is substantial, and he definitely could get caught on the end of some punches and look bad. So we're going Brundage for the win, but it's not a lock of the century here. No way. Plus 130 to open for Brundage. Now he's actually minus 130. Dumas at minus 101. Lines are pretty close for this matchup here, as they should be. It's a coin flip fight. Brundage coming in on short notice. Is he in the best shape, or is he taking this fight, looking for a paycheck? I'm assuming he's in good shape. Punahele Soriano was originally scheduled to fight Cedric Dumas, so also note that he was preparing for somebody with a striking game. Now you're getting full wrestling by Brundage. I believe the wrestling leads him to victory. So I'm going Brundage for the win by sub, but ultimately he needs to stick to a smart game plan, because trying to brawl with Dumas on the feet, he's the better kickboxer. Let's get to the co-main event. It's Amanda Ribas versus Maycee Barber. I'm going to be picking Amanda Ribas to win this fight. I like her a lot. I mean, I've always felt Amanda Ribas is extremely solid, and I'd say she's a top-tier girl, either at, women's flyweight, which she's at now, or women's strawweight. She competes with the best of them. She's got solid striking. I would say gonna have a jiu-jitsu advantage in this fight with Maycee Barber. Barber's a good athlete, and, she has good pressure. She comes out fast. She fights out of the southpaw stance, and she can switch it too. But Ribas is technically a lot better on the floor. She's not much older, right? 4 years older, but I feel like Ribas has seen higher level looks. Maycee Barber's fought some good competition, but I'll be honest, I can never shake the loss to Roxanne Modafferi out of my mind for Barber. But nah, I have. I've picked Barber since then. And you look at Barber's last fight, Andrea Lee. She finished on the bottom. She kind of got outworked in the grappling. I thought that she lost that fight. And Amanda Ribas is a superior grappling technician to the likes of an Andrea Lee. Amanda Ribas just dominated Viviane Araújo in the grappling department, and Araujo's got some solid ground skills. She then has a split loss, this being Ribas, to Caitlin Chukagian. Extremely competitive. She threw Chukagian nicely and looked solid in that fight. It was competitive as hell. Maycee Barber is good at winning some of these split decisions. You can see, even the Miranda Maverick win, I thought that was a questionable split decision. So ultimately 12-2 could be 10-4. 11-3 could be 12-2 for Amanda Ribas. I feel like Ribas is winning it. I'm saying Ribas by a decision. Barber's tough and will stay in it, and she'll have some striking moments, and her athleticism will show, but ultimately Ribas, I think, is going to throw her at some point and get on top and be very hard to shake from that top position. I think her jiu-jitsu transitions are just better. As far as the stand-up game goes, it's competitive. Barber's not overly powerful. She throws a lot of volume. She's athletic, but she's not going to win. Amanda Ribas for the win. Line for Ribas, minus 170. She opened up at minus 145. Maycee Barber at plus 145. The dog. I'm going Amanda Ribas for the win by a judge's decision. I think there's a chance of unanimous, but like split decision wouldn't blow my mind with Maycee Barber. And if it does go to a split decision, anybody that bets Ribas, you should sit there shitting your pants because Maycee Barber is the queen of winning these split decisions. I'm picking Ribas, though. She's going to get it done. Main event of the evening, we got Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria. Make sure you guys smash that like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Let's talk this main event. My pick is going to be Ilia Topuria to beat Josh Emmett and move into real deal contendership now. Look at the age difference for a second. 12 years the senior is Josh Emmett. And some of you will say, oh, look at last week. Marvin Vettori was 29, Cannonier 39, and he got his ass whipped. True, but Marvin Vettori was not an undefeated prospect on the come-up that looks like an absolute monster that has top-tier grappling, has high-level stand-up too. He's got nice boxing and kickboxing, I would say, but his hands are pretty good. He digs to the body fairly well. He's got good speed. Can get caught a little bit at times down the center, but is in great shape and has shown some decent resistance to strikes. Bring the Jai Herbert fight up. He got caught with a nasty left high kick, was hurt badly, found a way to weather that storm and win the fight, and that was up a weight class at lightweight. He takes on Josh Emmett here, who's a threat with his hands. But I think Topuria can be smart here. I do believe Topuria eventually finds a finish. I don't think this fight is going all the way. I think that Topuria knocks him out. Third or fourth round KO. There's a chance of him hurting with the strike and then following up and finding a submission too. I expect Topuria to try to work some grappling, but actually find himself struggling a bit. And Emmett having some early success. Like, don't be shocked if there's moments for Emmett in this fight. I just think at the end of it, Topuria will be the one getting the hand raised. I mean, he's got some solid takedowns. He, hits at 46%. Good punch combinations. Josh Emmett can box his ass off too, though. He's got a massive left hook. He's a very physically strong guy, team alpha male, so obviously you know he's got wrestling. But remember, Josh Emmett took a convincing beating in his last fight against Yair Rodrigues. That was 4 months ago, and he got his ass handed to him in that fight. He now is fighting someone they're trying to build as the new face of the weight class in Ilia Topuria. I think he takes another L here. I think Topuria is going to finish him. Josh Emmett, I mean, even the fight before, 11 months ago, not even a year. Kelvin Kattar, I thought he lost that decision. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what I think. I'll tell you something. He took a fuckload of damage in that fight. And now you're fighting Topuria, who's high caliber. Just beat a scary grappler in Bryce Mitchell handily. I think Topuria finds a way to win. Has to overcome some adversity, though, because I can see Josh Emmett touching him with some punches, but Topuria gets the better of the combinations, eats Josh Emmett's best shot, and just keeps coming, and Josh Emmett's like, holy fuck, this kid doesn't break, and then Topuria hurts him, follows up with ground and pound, stops him. There is a chance for sub, too, so, the sub line is not a crazy play if you're looking at that. I'm kind of thinking club and sub as I sit here talking to you guys, but knockout a sub is what I'm seeing. Topuria with the finish. Minus 310 Topuria, 3-1 favorite. Emmett plus 260. And Topuria opened up at minus 300. And he sat there. Emmett at plus 260. Yeah, Topuria should get it done. I think he finishes Josh Emmett. And you're looking at, in 2024, a title challenger for Ilia Topuria. Assuming timing all works out for him, he wins this fight. He could very well be next up, if not one fight out. Maybe they give him the winner of Holloway Zombie, so probably they give him Holloway then. That could be absolutely fucking bonkers. Topuria for the win, and I'm saying he's getting a finish. That's UFC Jacksonville, and I'm excited as hell for it. I think the picks are pretty fucking solid here. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. I appreciate everybody for the continued support. Stay tuned all week. I'm dropping content every single day. Do not miss it. Let me know what you think of the picks in the comments. And if you got nothing to say, you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everybody.